Hello. Can you hear me okay?
Hi, everyone.
Thank you all for joining us today, both virtually and here in New York. I'm Alexis. I'm the Director of Partnerships here at Bubble, and I'm thrilled to be hosting this Fireside chat with Bubble's VP of Product, Alan Yang. So here's our agenda for today. We'll start by introducing ourselves, and then Alan will walk us through Bubble's product strategy and roadmap, and we'll spend the remaining time on Q&A. Thank you to everybody who submitted questions in the forum. We'll get through as many as we can in the remaining time. Alan, take it away.
Yeah. Hi, everybody. My name is Alan, for those I haven't had the pleasure of meeting yet. I've been with Bubble for a little over 4 years now, and I currently lead the product org, which consists of product managers, product designers, data, research, and, of course, our very awesome in-house team of professional Bubble developers. I've been a PM for my career, so previously I've worked at Google, a company called Better Mortgage, a startup called Yipit, all based here in New York, and I've done a small smattering of engineering and data along the way. And what really appealed to me about joining Bubble was, of course, it's a very cool, very powerful product, but I think it's really getting to meet the really passionate community and the users who are doing all kinds of really cool, sometimes kind of crazy things with our product. So thank you all for being part of the community. Over to you, Alexis.
Awesome. So I'm Alexis. I've been at Bubble for about 6 months as a Director of Partnerships. Partnerships at Bubble includes our Startup and Perks program, our marketplace of third-party built plugins and templates, our agency program, and our tech and product partnerships. Prior to joining Bubble, I spent about 8 years leading partnerships at a company called Gusto in the HRS space, and prior to that, I was in finance. Alan, are you ready to take us through your strategy and roadmap?
Yeah. How's everybody feeling about what Josh and Emmanuel announced?
Woo!
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Awesome. So yeah, I wanted to start off by just kind of summarizing how we at Bubble are thinking about our product strategy and the sort of long-term roadmap. So to take a step back, when our product team thinks about our product strategy, we are trying to answer the question of what do we think will make the biggest impact for all of you, our users, the biggest impact for our product to bring it closer and closer towards our product vision, and the biggest impact for the company. But of course, we have limited resources, so the name of the game is prioritization. We have to make tough choices, we have to make trade-offs, and we have to pick our investments carefully, even though we would love to be able to do all the awesome ideas that we have. So to that end, here is our framework for our current product strategy. And our product roadmapping centers around these few big bets. So the number one priority for us right now is investing in enhancing scalability. It has been very cool to see over time just how many apps were started on Bubble and have grown to quite a size on Bubble. And we want to continue investing in that experience around scaling a Bubble app. This actually encompasses a few very big, very meaty concepts. Most of these I'll speak more to in a minute. But for example, this includes the concept of performance. And actually, performance breaks down further into data performance, page load performance, editor performance, and more. This also includes the concept around managing complexity, which Josh mentioned. We know that as a Bubble app grows, there's a lot of moving pieces in the Bubble app, and we want to make it easier for people to not only build a complex app, but to continue iterating on it very quickly. And closely tied to that is the concept of collaboration, because generally when a Bubble app grows, eventually you might be bringing on one or many more Bubble developers. Also under this umbrella are concepts like debugging and logs, which I'll touch on more in a minute. And hopefully you've already seen some of our big announcements under this umbrella, things like SOC 2 and SSO as well. So there's a lot going on in that top priority. The second priority is driving innovation. This is primarily referring to our efforts in AI and with native mobile, which you just heard a lot about. Our third investment is around unlocking early user value. All of you here today have probably all of you are probably pretty far along in your Bubble journey, I'm guessing. But if you remember back to your early days on Bubble, you might remember that Bubble is a pretty complex product. There's quite a learning curve. It can take a little bit of time to get used to it, to figure out what it can do, and to get to your MVP. So it's important to us to keep investing in that early user experience, to show more users what Bubble can do, to show them that faster, to help them get to value faster, and to help them start to get up the learning curve. So that's our third big bet. And then last but definitely not least is the idea of investing in our core technology. So really, the other three bets are only made possible by our core technology. This is incredibly critical to your success and our success. And it's really the foundation of everything. Only when the core tech is super solid can we build new features or push on the boundaries of scalability. So we are definitely going to continue investing in our core technology. So here is a bit of a highlight and summary of our longer-term product roadmap. To share a little bit about our philosophy on the product roadmap and sharing it, because I know that's a question a lot of you have. At this point, we have quite a number of teams. I think we have currently 9 different pods of engineers, Bubble developers, product managers, product designers, all working on different scopes of the product. And so there's a lot going on, right? Each of those pods has their own roadmap that they are pursuing. Many projects at any given point in time are actually perhaps more behind-the-scenes projects. So when we think about sharing what we're working on externally, we generally try to be transparent, but we generally try to focus on the big-ticket items that we are working on. Because those are the ones we're putting a lot of our resources behind. They're the ones that kind of speak to our ambition and the direction we want to move towards. And by the time we share something externally, we are treating it sort of as a commitment, right? Like we're sharing something we are pretty sure that we know what the solution roughly looks like, and we have a sense of the timeline for the project. So this is by no means everything we are going to work on. There's a lot more on our sort of aggregate roadmap. In a moment in the Q&A, a phrase I might be saying somewhat frequently is that something is not a priority at this time. That doesn't mean we won't touch it at all, but it means that at this point in time, we don't think there's like a big ticket item relating to that on the roadmap. Of course, we're always on the lookout for any kind of like low-hanging fruit or like small project that has really outsized benefits. So just to give a little bit of context there. So to share with you what's on our high-level roadmap. The first column here are some projects that are ongoing. And what that means is that we've actually already rolled out a number of things relating to each of these, and we are planning to do quite a bit more. And I'll be touching on pretty much all of these in a little bit with the Q&A. So one big concept here is around page load performance. We want to improve page load speeds. Another is investing in bulk data actions. This is what Josh mentioned, taking the existing bulk data capabilities in Bubble and really continuing to invest in the scalability and performance of them. And also a nice look and feel refresh of the editor, which is long overdue. Early next year, you'll be hearing a lot more and hopefully getting to experience our first release of the Bubble AI, an AI-powered editor. This is what Josh and Manuel shared earlier. We'll also be releasing more design and logic features that help with building an app modularly to help you manage complexity. So this is like the returning data from a custom event improvement that Josh mentioned. And then also, we are going to be rolling out this new concept of bulk workflows or bulk operations to really superpower how you can accomplish bulk data manipulation. And then a little bit later next year in 2024, that's when people will be getting their hands on our new native mobile feature, which Josh mentioned, as well as this much requested feature of the changelog. So being able to see what changed in your app, when, by whom, et cetera. And so with that, I think we'll move on to Q&A.
Yeah, thank you so much for the overview, Alan. Lots of exciting stuff happening, and a lot of what you just mentioned ties in nicely to the Q&A that we received from the community. So thank you again to everybody who submitted questions for Alan in the forum. We're going to get through as many of these as we can in the remaining time. So kicking things off here, the first question we have is from Petter about AI. Given what we heard this morning from Josh and Emmanuel and the competitive landscape, this seems particularly relevant, and would love to hear about your take on how we're going to tackle this investment next year.
Yeah, absolutely. So you all kind of already heard the big news that we are definitely going for it. So I wanted to give you maybe a slight behind-the-scenes look of how we're approaching and thinking about our AI efforts. So as Josh mentioned, it was very important to us to take our time with generative AI. Because it's obviously a very big topic in the tech industry right now. But we wanted to take our time, in part because of being very respectful around data privacy and those kinds of considerations, but also because, frankly, we really wanted to aim for combining AI capabilities with Bubble's full-stack capabilities. And so that was one principle that we started off with, which is that we wanted to explore how we can use LLMs and the latest AI developments to actually build with the Bubble language. This is not just using AI to generate copy on the page or to generate example data in your database. This is about actually having AI help you build a functioning Bubble app. So many months ago now, we spun up a small AI team that embarked on a lot of research, testing, and exploring what's possible when you apply AI to the Bubble language. And now a roadmap is coming together, and we've grown the team to begin to execute on what they've been finding. So as Josh mentioned, we are starting with the feature of going from a textual description of a page that you want and having AI actually build that page for you in the editor. It'll be built with Bubble components, all the same kinds of Bubble native elements that you build with today. And we view this as hopefully a very big jumpstart so that you can just quickly move to refining the design as you want and then building logic and hooking everything up. Then after that, we're hoping to look into how AI can also build other kinds of core Bubble concepts, things like workflows and dynamic expressions. And just to give you a sense, the way we're generally approaching each of these different concepts is that first we're figuring out how to have LLMs generate new designs or new workflows or new dynamic expressions. And then we'll move on to figuring out how to have LLMs help you modify something that's existing already in your app. So an existing page, an existing workflow, an existing dynamic expression. So that's a bit more color into our AI efforts.
Exciting. So moving on to our next question from Zubair, who's looking out for our power users. What are Bubble's plans for improving backend capabilities and features?
Yeah. So we care a lot about our power users, and I'm not just saying that because all of you are here today. We care a lot about what you all are doing because, frankly, you're pushing the limits of Bubble. You're really pushing us to build more powerful features and a more powerful platform to support all of you as you scale your Bubble apps. So Zubair mentions a few great concepts here in his question. The audit history of all edits is something we are working on. This is the changelog feature that I mentioned, and that'll be coming out sometime mid next year. We are doing a ton of work, as I mentioned, on bulk data operations, again, starting with improving some of the bulk actions that exist today in the editor, and then moving on to invest in this new way of handling bulk workflows so that bulk workflows in bulk can handle millions of things and running workflows across them. Loops is also a concept we have looked into. This is part of our bundle of design and logic features that we want to release early next year. Here, what I mean by loops is putting a loop within a workflow in particular. So you can imagine kind of a workflow of actions, and maybe one of the actions in the middle is invoking a loop to run over a list of things. This is a pretty cool concept because it allows you to describe your logic more efficiently and more modularly. And this is a slightly separate concept from the idea of looping over a large list and running a big workflow over every item in the list, which is under the bulk data operations umbrella. There are some other concepts mentioned here, like if-else statements and stronger math capabilities. These are not top priorities right now, but they are ideas that we're fond of and would love to get to someday.
So based on the roadmap you shared earlier, the team seems to be focused a lot on big bets for Bubble and in the next phase of the company. As someone who talks to a lot of folks who are building for others day to day, I'm curious to hear your thoughts about prioritizing smaller, quality of developer life improvements in the Bubble editor.
Yeah, thank you for this question from Alexander. I think he just made the day for at least one person on our product team. We have a term internally for this kind of idea, which is paper cuts, and we want to, over time, kind of reduce the number of paper cuts in the product. So we know there is a lot we can do here, big things, small things, and it's definitely something that we are figuring out how to incorporate into our roadmap. This actually has a lot of tie-in into the editor refresh initiative that I mentioned on our roadmap earlier. To be honest, that is not just a visual refresh of the editor, but we're also planning to bake in a lot of these quality of developer life improvements as we go piece by piece in the editor and do a refresh of them. Again, to give you a peek behind the scenes, what we're doing with this effort is basically moving our code base for the editor into a design system and a component-based framework. This is a best practice in software development. And for us internally, a huge benefit of doing this is so that we can move faster and move more easily to iterate on the editor so that we can do more and more of these kinds of quality of developer life improvements over time. And for users, the benefits of moving onto a design system will be that you'll see our sort of visual UI will be cleaned up a lot. There will be much greater design consistency. And you'll be seeing some of these quality of developer life improvements as we go. So please do keep sharing ideas you have for what would improve your quality of life in the Bubble editor. Feel free to share them on the forum, on Slack, on the idea board. We do keep track of all these different channels. We can't respond to every single idea, but every idea is read by at least a couple people. And we keep track of things, and we try to sort of weave them into our roadmap as we go.
So for this next question, there's a common misconception that no code cannot be as performant as code. And we've received feedback from the community highlighting performance improvements that Bubble could make. How are you thinking about investments to increase our page load speed and improve SEO to address this feedback?
Yeah, great question, Amir. So page load speed is one of our top priorities that we are currently working on. It requires, yeah.
Woo! Yeah.
Okay, good.
Thank you.
Okay, so that seems like a good choice we're making.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, so this effort involves quite a few deeper changes in our code base, but the thing we're aiming for is definitely improving page load speed. So you'll see numerous pieces of this rolling out over time. It's not going to be the kind of project where we kind of just work on it for a year and then there's like a big release at the end. But we've broken it down. So there will be many rollouts along the way. Each of them will hopefully make an impact towards page load performance along the way. SEO improvements. So under the SEO umbrella, we are focusing on page load speed first, because we know for a fact that that is a big factor in SEO rankings, and it's very clearly measured. There's a tool within every Chrome browser that measures page load speed, for example. So we're focused on the page load speed part of that first. We have also talked about the feature of loading states or skeleton states, which we understand also helps towards SEO. So that might come, a little bit later. And then there are some other SEO improving features that we would like to invest in, but those will come after that.
Switching gears a bit here with this question from Renato, which has got multiple parts to it. First part here, we see a lot of competitors specialize in either front-end or back-end development, and some Bubble users are leveraging both Bubble and one of these solutions. How are we thinking about this? Does Bubble plan to launch official plugins to connect to Supabase, Sano, Firebase, or other external backends?
Yeah, great question. So we are pretty committed to Bubble being an open platform. That is very important to us, and we know that's a very valuable thing, just how extensible Bubble is. So we're definitely committed to being an open platform. official plugins with some of the backend options that Renato mentioned. Those aren't currently on the roadmap. It is on our roadmap and a top priority for us to keep investing in our native backend capabilities, our native data capabilities. So we want users to be able to comfortably scale their backends on Bubble and to grow their apps, for as long as they want on our platform.
Awesome. The second piece of this question is around Bubble's extensibility. What are Bubble's plans for improving the API connector? Does Bubble plan to launch more client-side features?
Yeah, we really appreciate the feedback from Renato in this question. Given what I shared earlier, this is not one of our top priorities to do a big revamp of the API connector. Again, we will definitely keep an eye out for low-hanging fruit and maybe small but big wins that we can have along the way. But revamping the API connector is not a top priority for us right now. Again, we do listen to all this feedback, so please keep sharing it, because at some point in the future, we definitely hope to take a good look at this and to address a lot of the ideas that the community has.
Last part of the question is around exporting code. Does Bubble plan to allow source code export in the future?
Yeah, so this is not a top priority on the roadmap right now. I told you I would be saying that phrase a lot. And yeah, we are pretty committed to improving and investing in Bubble to make it an amazing experience to build full stack on Bubble and to scale production-grade apps on Bubble. Yeah,
Woo!
Thank you. So yeah, just to give a little more color to this idea. I'm pretty sure people know that you can export the data within your Bubble app from the Data tab, and that you can also export a JSON of your Bubble app. And actually, that ties into this request here because behind the scenes, Bubble apps don't exist as code. They actually exist as that JSON that you can export or import into the editor. And it's really the combination of the app JSON with the Bubble codebase that creates the magic of Bubble, right? It's the combination of the two that makes Bubble so flexible and extensible while still allowing you to create an app in a very no-code way. So yeah, unfortunately, source code export is not quite on the roadmap, but the app JSON can be exported.
So in addition to the API connector, another area of the product that users like Ankur were curious about is the plugin editor. Are there any plans to invest in this feature?
Yeah, we very much know that this needs some love and attention, but it is not a top priority on the roadmap right now. We are looking at different ways to create more opportunities and to improve the overall experience for plugin editors, and we are investing in ecosystem improvements for all different facets of our ecosystem next year. And that's actually something we're working very closely with Alexis' team on. So please stay tuned.
Awesome. So a huge part of building apps on Bubble is the process of testing and debugging. Does Bubble have plans to improve the debugging and logging processes?
Yeah, so this is a top priority on the product roadmap. Yeah, so we view the improvements in logs to be pretty closely tied in with the improvements and investments we want to make on bulk data manipulation and bulk data operations. So we will be improving the logs experience in 2024, likely after you've seen some of the bulk workflow improvements coming out. Aside from improving the logs experience, which is a big part of debugging, we don't have any other large kind of revamps of the debugging experience on the roadmap. But I do want to call out that Jonathan's question mentions a really interesting idea at the end here, which is the idea of automated testing of Bubble apps and being able to create these kinds of automated tests. This is a very fun idea. I'm personally very fond of the idea. It is not on the roadmap right now, but it's a very fun idea that we're fond of.
So we heard a lot about mobile this morning, and you talked about it being on the roadmap. Can you tell us more about the plan and timeline to support native iOS and Android?
Yeah, it's coming. We are working on it. It will be supporting both iOS and Android apps. And we are planning to have this be available to users starting in mid-2024. And actually, I believe with, at the start of the conference this morning, we have officially launched a waitlist for our upcoming native mobile product on our website. So if you are interested in this new product and want to get your hands on it and maybe even be one of our early testers of it, please go sign up for the waitlist, and you'll be hearing about it.
Bubble.io/mobile. Next question here is around the component library. We launched that about a year ago, and it's been a popular feature, especially among users looking to build landing pages. What's the future of Bubble's component library?
Yeah, another great question from Jonathan. Thank you. So we do have a team that's looking into adding new components to the Bubble component library. This will probably look more like adding components over time rather than like a big, huge new batch of components at once. We also love the idea of a marketplace for component libraries. In fact, this was one of the directions we wanted to go even at the very beginning of the project. So it's part of the vision of this feature space. That is a bigger effort. It's basically starting a new marketplace, a completely new part of the ecosystem. So it's not currently a top priority on the roadmap, but it is something on our minds.
Awesome. So we are almost out of time, and Brian's question will be the last one that we cover. How do you see the process of releasing software updates for the main cluster evolving?
Yeah, so to give some context here for folks who might be newer to Bubble, there are a few existing features here. There's the concept of the dedicated plan, where dedicated boxes do have more control over upgrading Bubble software in their box. There's the concept of the scheduled release tier, which I believe is on the growth plan and above. That basically means you get any new code deployments once a day in the morning. And then there's also the concept of Bubble versions, which today we use just for breaking changes that we make to the platform. We know that these features aren't quite enough. And also, it's kind of highlighted by the fact that we deploy code very frequently. We deploy code something like dozens of times a day, I believe, right now. So our aim here is to get to different versions of the Bubble platform. You can imagine something like there being a new version that's kind of cut or created every week that has all the code changes made from the week preceding it. And users could have the ability to choose which version of the Bubble platform they want to be on. So this would be kind of similar to how code libraries work. We are aiming to do it in hopefully a more user-friendly, no-codey way, because it's actually kind of a pain in the coding world to handle versioning of different libraries. So that's where we're hoping to get to. We aren't quite in a position to do that right now. There is quite a bit of infrastructure investment we want to make to get to that world. So we're aiming for it, but no concrete timeline to share about that for now.
Awesome. Thank you, Alan. That's all the time we have today. I want to give a big round of applause to Alan. Thank you for being in the hot seat today. Really appreciate your thoughts. Yep. Again, thank you to everybody who submitted questions in the forum. As Alan mentioned, we're always listening to feedback and using that to inform our roadmap. So we hope that you'll all continue to engage with us there. And next up, we have a really exciting industry leader panel on the possibilities at the intersection of AI and no-code. So hope to see you all there.
Thank you.